What's happening, Lazy Bunch fans? Dan here, and we are finally doing the Lone Wolves Extraction Director's Commentary. Only a year and a half late. But I am super excited to be doing this, and for everyone who's watching, thank you so much for the support, for showing Lone Wolves Extraction and Lone Wolves so much love. But let's dive right into this, because this just starts off right where Lone Wolves in 2019 ended. As you saw, Cannonbolt is a part of this. Lost Hobo Films is a part of this. And here we are, the very last shot of Lone Wolves. Reshot for Lone Wolves Extraction, funny enough. The great thing about this is, and I don't know why I'm even bringing this up now, but like the Halo 4 soundtrack played such a huge part in helping us write this project, and Lasky's theme is just so inspirational, and to open with that song with this just takes me back to Lone Wolves. I don't know. It was just the perfect song for Reynolds or for whatever mood we needed to put with that. But now we are kicking off with Aaron Weatherford's Lone Wolves Extraction soundtrack. So Lasky's theme, we may hear that maybe a couple more times throughout this, but this is it right here. And since it's going, I'm going to stop talking about music and talk about the shots we're at now. So funny enough, this opening scene required a lot of reshoots because for whatever reason, in my original interpretation of the script, I had all these freedom fighters shoot down and kill the prisoners of Anderson's troops. So all those panic shots were shots of prisoners being killed. We watched it with my team, Javelin 197, Aaron, and Cannonball. We all watched this, and we're like, why are the good guys killing the bad guys? I get why the bad guys need to die, but why are they all just executing them? And so that required a lot of reshoots because we wanted the pacing to still be the same, a lot of on-edginess, but we realized we can't have these good guys do executing to bad guys. It just wasn't on point, on character for them. But this scene I thought was really cool, really fun to shoot. Mainly because, the one thing, Lone Wolves characters meeting with the Reclaimer characters, and we teased that at the end of Lone Wolves. Twilight was at the end of Lone Wolves. She was voiced by a different voice actress, but she was there. Echo right here on screen, she was there, but she didn't have a voice at the time, I believe. So here we are, Lone Wolves Extraction. They're teaming up, they all kind of hate each other, and that kind of helps us tease the next Perfect Soldiers project, because there's gonna be a lot of inner fighting. There's gonna be a lot of people like, well, Hudson is not a good guy, but we need to trust him. Anyways, let's talk about this opening right here, because this was done by Fragile Void Entertainment. Great guy, super awesome, does a lot of cool Star Wars edits, so please go check out his channels. He did this absolutely for free for us. He just did it because he was passionate about our universe that we have created, and this is just so cool. I dig it so much. And the soundtrack, Aaron composed it himself. Everything's bled so perfectly, and bam, Lazy Bunch Productions. So a lot has happened in the first 3.5 minutes. We have seen, the reintroduction of these characters. We've seen these characters meeting back up, the Lone Wolves characters meeting the Reclaimer characters, and then we get this awesome opening, and then here we are, Lone Wolves Extraction. Now, I am going to talk about this right here, 1 year later, because this was a big debate between me, Javelin, and Cannonball. We were the three that wrote the script for Lone Wolves Extraction, particularly me and Cannon, and Javelin came in and did a lot of the edits because Javelin wrote a lot of Reclaimer, so we wanted his input on this. But that opening, the 1 year later, was a huge debate because when we wrote Reclaimer, there's a part where Chloe has a 1 year time jump. And maybe we need someone to fully dive deep into this and categorize every single scene by year. But Javelin is very certain that the 1 year later thing needed to be put in. And Cannon and I believed that we don't need to do a time jump. And so there was a lot of debate back and forth, trying to figure out exactly. And after some more persuading, I think I was on the side of Javelin, because then I'm like, you know what, you're right, because there was a time jump in Reclaimer, and the things that are happening in Reclaimer, certain parts are affecting Lovel's extraction. So the 1 year later thing made sense. But every time I watch it, I always question, did we make the right choice? Is the 1 year later thing accurate? And so to this day, we don't know. I mean, we do know, but I know this just sounds like we kind of winged it, but, you know, there are some questions with that. And so if there are people who watch this and maybe question that themselves, you're not alone. You're not alone. So, but for the sake of this, let's move past that, because here's the main story. We got to save Jax Harvey. Now, who is Jax Harvey? Jax, this is his first appearance in this universe. He was a character inspired by one of the ideas by Cannonball, and Cannonball had this idea for having this scientist who needed to be saved. And this actually ties into the bigger universe even better, because I did not, like, I mean, the idea of a rescue mission is really important, but like the term extraction was a big term used in Halo 4 because of the extraction game mode. So we wanted to find a way to use the word extraction in the Perfect Soldier's terminology, I guess. That was a fun montage, and of course, great music right there. But we wanted to use the term extraction somewhere into this universe, and this was the opportunity to use it to save Jax Harvey, to do a rescue mission. And the bigger picture, and there's a lot of people who watch these directors' commentaries, but not a whole lot. But you guys, a lot of people have kind of theorized that this is happening, so I'm just going to throw it out there, put it on the table. There will be a Halo ring in a future future Perfect Soldiers project. And as of right now, it looks like there's going to be a Halo ring in our next project. Jax Harvey is someone who is very well knowledge of ancient technology and things like that. So when Canon presented the opportunity to do a rescue mission, I jumped on that, because I said that's perfect, because here are the events that are happening in the next 2 to 3 years of our Machinima Universe projects. This is perfect, because this gives us not only another way to tease the Halo ring, but there's an actual story reason as to why Anderson might be interested in this character, because he's preparing for the next step in his plan. And if anything, Jax is accelerating that plan, because, you know, maybe a little while ago, the idea of Installation 08 was kind of teased in Perfect Soldier Evolution, Elimination, and even Reclaimer, there's a part where they talk about, you know, Installation 08, what's that? So it's been teased plenty of times, but now we are finally at the point where it's going to be happening. And Jax Harvey's existence is kind of speeding things up a little bit. So here we are, the big action scene happening here. This is a map that we have not ever used. We've used a lot of these interior hallways. We've used these plenty of times in maps, but we have filmed so many different locations on Halo 4. We have yet to actually use this map for a battle scene. And this was also an idea from Cannonball. Cannonball actually designed a map, and I kind of redesigned it a little bit because he made it much more narrow, much more close quarters. And that's where kind of the inspiration for a lot of these scenes right here. You see these people behind barriers and things. So that's kind of where the close quarters came in. But I'm the one who really spearheaded, okay, we got to have a big entrance, you know, Pelican flying in, a Warthog jumping in. We got to have a big, you know, we're landing, we're grounding all the troops. And then now here we are, it's a little bit more close quarters. This is more of what Cannon's vision was. The action, it was so much fun to film. All the body actors were amazing. We actually took a photo. You're gonna see this at the very end of the whole video. At the end of the credits, there's a photo of all the body actors together. But there were a lot of great people who worked with us on this scene, and I just want to thank all the body actors. Asteroid, Snake is his name. Zed Pratt Films. There's a lot of great people who helped with that scene, so I want to thank all of them for that. And then here we are. Jax Harvey in Anderson's clutches. Anderson. One of our favorite villains. There was actually that shot right there previously. He was in the shadows and stepped into the light. I actually did not anticipate that at all, but there's this one little part of the map that for whatever reason, looks much darker. And I didn't even notice that until theater mode. And so when Anderson stepped from the shadows into the light, it just looks so much better. I did not anticipate that, because you don't see some of these lighting things you don't see in the game until you see in theater mode. And just one of those takes just happened to work perfectly with the lighting. So I'm just glad it worked out that way. But Jax Harvey is voiced by 236 Studios. Aiden, great guy. We met a couple years ago, but we just haven't had a chance to have him be involved in any of our projects. So then when Canon came to me with this Jax Harvey character, I gave Aiden a line or two just to kind of test it out. And I gave him kind of a range. I gave him like, can you do a scared line? Can you do a very confident line? And then can you do kind of like you're getting beat up line? And he did all three perfectly. And I'm like, okay, there you go. That's the character story arc in this. So he did a phenomenal job in this.
I want to see what your new equipment can do.
Oh, sorry, I just got caught up in the moment with the prefect armor, the visibility, yes. Because those are two things we have yet to actually use in these games. And the great thing about this, there's a lot of new armors and things that were put into Halo 4 because of the recent MCC update, like the ODST armor set, the Keystone helmet for Chronicler's character, and then the Prefect armor set. Those were not an MCC when we did Lone Wolves and Reclaimer. So it was, when those came into the game, it was finally a great opportunity to use these armor sets for unique characters and unique situations that we've never used before. I just love that line. Anderson's much farther along in visibility than I thought. So these are things that we have wanted to do. We want to do cool things with the equipments and the armored abilities and things like that. So using the invisibility, invisibility and overshields are two very important pieces of Halo, and we want to utilize those at some point. So right now, the invisibility is being used a little bit, but it's going to be used a lot more in our next project. So this is kind of just the beginnings of what Anderson's doing. You know, that's the big thing. You know, this is obviously this is a sequel to Lone Wolves, a beloved machinima for our channel, but this is a sequel to that. But the most important thing about this is that we're teasing a lot of things that are coming up. You know, we got the Halo ring, we got Jax Harvey, we got all these new characters and these new armor abilities and things like that that weren't in this universe before. Like they were, but they were just kind of hinted at. Now they're being utilized and tested, and then when the next project comes along, next series we do, it's going to be really fully utilized.
Sweet Jesus! Sorry, Captain.
I can't tell you how many times Lost Hobo Films did that line, "Sweet Jesus." He gave me so many different takes of that. It was hilarious. This whole sequence, this part, you know, let me talk about this part because it's happening to us right now. I'll jump to the action sequence in a second.
Is he gonna be okay?
The character coughing, you know, the machinima, you know, body shaking while they're coughing thing, was something that we did in Perfect Soldier Evolution, and I think Red vs. Blue did it a little bit too. Some people find it funny, and admittedly, I found it very funny too. So it's one of those things where like it's a little cheesy looking, but it is kind of machinima at its core. You know, you don't want someone just laying there already dead, but you know, give them a little movement, makes them look lively. This scene that just happened, Reynolds is telling Hudson, "I can't lose you too." And some people have perceived that line in very different ways. Some people have perceived it as Reynolds thinking that Chronicler's character, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Tony Lockhart. Some people perceived it as Reynolds is afraid that Lockhart's already dying. But others, and myself included, I can't lose you too. Because Reynolds is thinking about his old team, which now we jump onto, here we go, Assassin Glasgow is doing the voice of Lisa Fields.
Where's Harvey?
Safe with me, but don't worry, Anderson's not on this ship.
And why should I believe you?
Because you can, as you once did. I know Harvey's valuable, And I made sure Anderson knew that so he wouldn't kill him.
It's just so weird. Like, I mean, it's not weird, but seeing Lisa and Reynolds together, it's such a tough break. It's a tough break because there's not really a romance going on between them, but there's definitely some sort of trusting bond that they formed during Lone Wolves, and
I really don't.
it's one of those things where like Reynolds still thinks about Lone Wolves and the partnerships that they had. So
was ready for a quick getaway. Not to mention he had traps ready for us.
this scene too, right here. There's people still don't trust Hudson, and I think that's the important thing because when you look at this, when you look at each of our Machinima projects, one thing that we,
Are you talking about me?
excuse me, as writers really focus on is that each of these are a different character's journey. And we always try to make each one of them, we always try to make each story under a one-word underlying theme. And this one is redemption. This is about Hudson, even though it's mostly about Reynolds. Even though Reynolds is the focus, this is Lone Wolf's Extraction is Hudson's redemption arc. And, you know, it's one of those where it's really, it wasn't difficult to really showcase that, but it's one of those things where like it helps our team, myself included, to really know this is who we're writing about. This is who the story is. This is the goal at the end, and that is for Hudson to be redeemed. And I know a lot of people were kind of not upset by that, but they were expected this to be more about Reynolds. And, you know, a lot of people expected more out of the Reynolds aspect of it. And basically what I said was, Reynolds, we explored so much of Lone Wolves. We know his story. By the end of it, even though Lisa Fields broke the trust that Reynolds had built, Hudson fixed that. So Reynolds, even though still by the end of Lone Wolves, is still broken. And heck, he's even broken right here. He hasn't learned to trust, but he's learned to be a little more open. And you kind of feel that confidence a little bit more, especially in the previous scenes. You know, we're 17 minutes in, and we had a big major battle. Reynolds led, you know, he made some tough choices, he made some tough decisions, and the battle was won. Even though it was unsuccessful, the battle was won. And so that kind of, what I'm talking about now all translates into this moment. Hudson is the one that needs to be redeemed this time around. And even though a lot of these characters can't trust Hudson, and maybe us as viewers, maybe we don't trust him either, but
Appreciate you standing up for me.
Reynolds needs to trust Hudson. Hudson needs to redeem himself to Reynolds. That's the important thing. And so that's what Lone Wolf's Extraction is about. It's about a rescue mission, but it's about redeeming Hudson. And
I understand.
this scene right here, I absolutely love the way the dialogue came out and the writing and everything. I believe this was one of the main scenes that, like, I spearheaded this scene, and
Show them that I can amount to be a good leader. Hell, even half the
yeah,
leader you
yeah,
are.
this right here, this line. I need to prove to everyone that I can amount to be a good leader. Heck, even half a leader like you.
Why?
This was one of those scenes that I really spearheaded, and Cannon gave his input,
I
Javelin.
sold you out.
Everyone was kind of like, all right, this is good. This is it. Not to pat myself on the back, but
Mistakes do not define you, Hudson.
yeah. And of course, Aaron Weatherford's music, it just always hits on point. There's the little underlining, you know, it's subtle enough where you hear the music, but there's a build up. Like right here. You feel that the team is coming together again.
Should we follow our lead?
Oh, we definitely are.
Should we follow our lead?
We can't hope to stop Anderson by ourselves. We need our team.
We need a team,
Can we trust
one that we could trust.
Yes.
Oh yeah, one that we could trust to the very end. So that is a callback to the end of Lone Wolves. A lot of Lone Wolves fans love that, and for me, like, I have to, like, I mean, yes, I'm a cheesy writer, cliche at some points, but there's a lot of things that, like,
We have a lead.
you know, I really wanted to write certain callbacks to Lone Wolves, and especially with earlier where we saw Lisa Fields and Reynolds. There's a lot of dialogue there being said that some of it is a callback to Lone Wolf. So if you're a Lone Wolves fan, you're picking up a lot of these beats again. Because that's just the way, like Star Wars, it rhymes. There's a lot of callbacks. There's things that come up again, and it's just important to acknowledge the past, where we came from, and where we're at now. So I really went on a rant there, didn't I? But these montages, I think the editing for all these montages, that's the one thing that I look at a lot of my old projects, and I'm always worried that there's not enough shots. The pace is not fast enough, I watched Reclaimer the other day, and there's an action scene where I'm like, this feels too slow. There needs to be more. But I feel like Lone Wolves Extraction has really gotten better with that. And so I hope each of these montages have helped me personally grow as an editor and as a filmmaker. And I hope that has helped our team as well. Look at that lovely lens flare. But we've gotten some really unique shots in Lone Wolves Extraction. A shot like this too, like they can't actually board out of a pelican, but like a shot like that, we kind of cheesed it a little bit.
But in this scenario, we need to make sure
Cheated it a little bit.
All we know is that the facility sits in a valley. So if there's a way to attack from multiple entry points, then we must try. As long as we've got the high ground, then we'll be safe.
Lost Hobo Films, I remember. He was really struggling with these certain parts of the scripts, and I don't remember what the specific parts were, but he was telling me, Dan, why the hell do I have so many monologues in this? It's only 40 minutes long. Why the hell do I have like 5 monologues? And I'm like, listen, man, listen. Captain Reynolds, he loves his monologues, so you got to get used to it too, man. And so Lost Hobo Films, he's great at executing lines, don't get me wrong, but he always wants to execute his full line fully, if that makes sense. Like, he will always try to deliver it all the way. But there are points where the first sentence would definitely be better on the second take, and the last sentence would be best on the first take. So obviously a lot of audio mixing, a lot of sound cutting here and there, making things work. But Lost Hobo Films, I'm so sorry, man. I am so sorry that you had a really difficult time with this. So, but here we are, the great scene animated by Buck himself, Anderson, Jax Harvey, the interrogation scene. Now, there's this little thing right here that Anderson does where his lights flash red. That was something that Buck wanted. Buck wanted that put in just to show, like, him being just... I don't remember what the actual terminology was, but we have an in-universe answer for that, and that makes Anderson's suit stronger. But... man, it just gives me goosebumps every time watching this. Because Buck not only does great animation, but like the lighting and the camera work, cinematography in general is just on point. And did you hear that sound right there? Like, oh man. And of course, Omega 360, Andrew Hindle, voice actor friend that I've known for over 13 years now, has provided the voice of Anderson, and he delivers Anderson's lines perfectly every single time. I did not have to give him any direction in Lone Wolves Extraction, no direction in this scene whatsoever. Andrew delivered and executed perfectly. And the best thing is that Aiden also delivered his lines perfectly as well. I didn't have to give him much direction either. I mean, I wrote in the scripts what the mood is and everything, what kind of delivery I want. But like when it came down to the editing, I first got Aiden's lines, and then I'm like, okay, this is good. Nothing against Aiden, but this is really good. But I'm worried. What if Andrews doesn't turn out? And then I got Andrews, and I put this scene together. And then I went to Buck, and I told Buck, like, hey, so, and this was like literally, I think like a 4 or 5 month turnaround. But I went to Buck, and I'm like, hey, so I got this great scene here. I could do this in Halo. I could do this in Halo 4, do some clever tricks with some punches and maybe have some energy swords and things like that. But what can you do, Buck? Can you do a cool interrogation scene? And so Buck made this he asked me questions about like the lighting and the coloring and maybe what's kind of map setting I wanted, but things like that. But Buck put it all together himself, and I saw it and I got goosebumps. Funny enough, all these scenes, you know, a lot of these scenes were filmed already, but Buck's scene was the first scene completely animated, edited, done out of this whole entire project. His thing was the first thing done, and I think he finished it back in maybe March of 2022, and then I did some filming in April and May, and by June I did some finalizations of the edits and the music, and then July this was out for release. July 8th, as a matter of fact. But yeah, that's just the process. You know, a lot of people asking me questions, you know, how it's one of those things where like,
Why do you have so much faith in Hudson?
oh, here's a specific scene, a Lone Wolf's callback as well.
I've had my moments of doubt even with all of you.
What do you mean?
So the important thing is that, you know, this is a new team for Reynolds. He's got Hudson still. He's got these new players, and
What has he done?
he doesn't. It's not that Reynolds doesn't trust them. It's that Reynolds. It's that Reynolds has to grow as a leader. And you know, going back, like I said, Lone Wolves and Lone Wolves Extraction rhymes. There's a lot of parts that, like, if you are a fan of Lone Wolves, you'll appreciate a lot of these dialogue things in Lone Wolves Extraction. You know, at the end of the day, Lone Wolves Extraction was made for fans of Lone Wolves, and a thank you to those who helped us put Lone Wolves on the map. On the Machinima, you know, people in the Machinima community didn't really know who we were when we came with Perfect Soldier Elimination, but Lone Wolves really played a huge part in our channel growing. So Lone Wolves Extraction, truthfully and honestly, is a thank you to the fans who helped us grow. And so we wanted to make a lot of callbacks, and like I said, that scene with Reynolds on the radio with, not Pierce. What is her name? We got Lockhart, Pierce, and oh my gosh, Langston. That scene with the radio is just it's a callback to what Reynolds and Lisa Fields did in Lone Wolves. And you know, it's one of those things like, do we trust Pierce? Do we trust Lockhart? Do we trust Langston? Do we trust any of them? Do we trust Hudson still? So it's one of those things where like the theme of trust isn't as big in this as it was in Lone Wolves, but it's still there because this is a Lone Wolf story. So there's got to be a little element of distrust.
We're in, Captain.
So, but this actually sequence was a lot of fun to film. There were a lot of things that I wish was done a little bit differently, like that pelican shot specifically. I wish the pelican moved a little faster, and I remember I actually tried to film it a little bit faster. It just wasn't coming out.
Like, start taking some chances.
Oh man, the Lockhart running into battle, that was an idea. I was talking to Cannon about that. I'm like, we got to make Lockhart very hot-headed, very like, I'm in your face kind of attitude, because there's no one else in the universe like that. We don't have any main characters like that, so we wanted Lockhart to be a little bit different. But it, you know, and Chronicler, actually, there was a blooper of this. Chronicler is like, why am I just a big dumb ape? Like, why am I the big tough guy who just gets knocked down every 5 minutes? And, you know, my response to him was like, look, man, I don't know what to tell you. Do you love his personality? And he's like, hell yeah, of course I do. But why am I always getting shot? So it was just a lot of fun. It was just the all around, everything about this production was just a lot of fun. The cast, the body acting, the Halo 4 update was a huge help too, because we got pelicans. We couldn't have made this big outdoor exterior map without the Halo 4 update.
But nothing bothers me more than
Get him,
delays.
Captain.
Then Anderson's monologue here. You know, there's just so many great moments in this, and
Anxious.
I'm just.
While I do enjoy toying with you.
Oh yeah, this scene, this shot right here. I love the coloring. I just love how it came out.
You'll be surprised, Reynolds. I have a lot planned for your future.
It's just so creepy too. Like, Andrew's delivery is just so creepy. This is. I am so glad of how the action came out in this, because my one worry was that I was going to have a lot of action that didn't amount to anything. Because in Perfect Soldier Elimination, and even to a fault a little bit of Lone Wolves, there were action sequences that was just there because of action. In this case, there's a lot of really important dialogue happening within these action sequences. And I think that, personally, I think that really builds on this. You know, because like I said, we would have just a lot of big action sequences, but like to add those moments where Pierce and Hudson are like, do you trust me? You know, things like that. Like that is the most cliche line of any action movie, but because the theme of this is trust, it hits harder than just the casual, do you trust me? You know, so like there you go. There's another, you know, bobbing of a dead body. Man, I know some people it's tough, man. It's machinima, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna look goofy, and I know personally, like I said, I laugh sometimes at it, but I think it's better than just lying there dead like that shot. I mean, imagine the entire sequence like that. One thing I didn't know, actually, when you activate that green healer thing, the healing bubble, everything within the bubble space flies out of the bubble space. So I had to cut to a different shot because Hudson's dead body, when you activate the green spherical thing, it launched Lockhart's dead body across the map, because when the bubble forms, it moves everything, the grenades, the guns, boxes, any objects that are like considered like objects. And a Spartan's dead body is one of those said objects, and it launched Lockhart across the map. And so I was going back in theater, I'm like, okay, how do I fix this? So I did a number of retakes, a number of reshots of that shot, and no matter what I did, the green bubble just threw Lockhart's body. And so I'm like, you know what? Lockhart can't be in the shot. I had to cut to something else, and it feel like it worked, you know, cut into a shot of the battle happening, and then boom, green bubble appearing. So now we're inside with Reynolds hunting, getting shot at, and taking out all those prefects. This was a very fun sequence to shoot. It was a very complicated sequence because I actually shot all this by myself. In fact, almost all the body acting, besides that one scene in that Forge map, all the body acting was done by me. I did all of this. I did I did the seeds with Hudson and Pierce and Lockhart, and the exterior of the battle. I did all that too. But right here, there's a heartbeat. It's very faint, but I added that in post after Aaron did the soundtrack. I added that heartbeat in post, and then I cut out the sound, and everyone was just like, "Whoa." This is this changed the tone of this. And you hear it slightly getting louder, you know. And then, boom, there's Anderson. Reynolds has not seen Anderson. When? I can't even recall when. I mean, it's been over a year now, but I just thought that was really cool. And you know, it's one of those things where, like, you know, maybe Reynolds might have had his chance a second ago to shoot him, but oh man, this scene too. This was a fun sequence to film because it feels like this is endless. It feels like no matter what corner Reynolds turns, there's always someone else shooting at him. And yeah, like, this was a fun map to make. Like I said, I wanted to utilize some of these equipments because we've never used jetpacks. We've never used the invisibility. This was our chance to actually use some of these cool equipment. So this was a lot of fun. But this whole sequence, cutting back and forth between these two sides of the battle, it's very Star Wars-esque. And for those of you who are writing machinimas, who are writing stories, I think as cheesy as Star Wars may be, you gotta hand Star Wars one thing. They're great at battle scenes. And they do this by forcing the story to have multiple layers, either 2 or 3. And so in this case, I have the Reynolds subplot and this plot. Normally 3 plots are usually happening. Like, for instance, the Death Star battle. You have Luke going through the trench run with some of the other pilots flying around, Darth Vader maybe getting ready, and cut to basically Death Star battle outside exterior. Inside you have Grand Moff Tarkin talking about our moment of triumph, and then you cut to shots of Yavin 4 them watching the battle. So there are 3 subplots all happening, converging on this one thing. And so in this case, you know, we could have had Reynolds stay with the group. We could have had Reynolds stay with everyone, and they could have just battled all hunky-dory. But Hudson needed to prove to Reynolds that he could be trusted. Hudson needed to prove to Pierce and Lockhart that he could be trusted. And Reynolds needed to go after Anderson because he still needs to redeem himself for losing Parker. And so all these different people have all these different missions for different reasons. They're all separating because I mean, it's all under one goal, but they're all fulfilling their own destinies, if that makes sense. I'm ranting now, I'm rambling. If you guys understand what I'm talking about, then yeah. But no, this was a fun segment here. And again, Aiden, top-notch acting.
Where is he, Jax? Where's Anderson?
No need to fret, Captain. I'm here.
No need to fret, Captain.
Actually, no, I'm not.
How the hell did you...
And again, another equipment and ability that we wanted to use, the shields. And the funny thing is, we actually did something very similar to this in Reclaimer with Delilah. I don't know if any of you have seen Reclaimer as well as Lone Wolves, but you should check it out. Reclaimer's really cool. Delilah had a very similar circumstance with Chloe, and she too was a hologram at one point. But we aren't revealed until the end of the conversation. In this case, I wanted Anderson to be introduced as a hologram at the beginning of the conversation, just to know that, like, what is happening, but there's a lot more weight to it, because you really don't know where Anderson is. There's more mystery and there's more questions than answers, you know?
Surprised.
So this whole segment, this whole part of the story had to be completely restructured because, and if any of you have seen the deleted scenes for Lone Wolf's Extraction, in this scene right here, Reynolds walks into this room and he's given a projection of the battle at the end of Reclaimer.
What the hell?
And there's a slight bit of the Reclaimer theme right there playing.
Come in, Captain.
But in this scene, Reynolds walks in to see Parker's dead body on a table next to him. And there are multiple things that I wanted to do with that. One, I was talking about maybe having a zombified Parker in the future. That was shot down by my writing team. And in all fairness, I sometimes do get a little bit ahead of myself. I do sometimes think of crazy ideas, like, you know what, it'd be really cool if we do this and we do that. And I realized I gotta take a step back. This is a little bit too insane. So thank you, Javelin and Cannon, for saving me from adding a zombified Parker to this scene. But I also wanted a Parker in this because I felt it would have been nice to have some closure for Reynolds. But you know what? This is one of those things where, like, I've realized that not every single death has closure. Oh, by the way, this is a great quote. Is it possible to go through life without trust? That is to be imprisoned in the worst cell of all, oneself. I remember reading that quote and I remember thinking, oh, damn, that is very powerful, because for the longest time, Reynolds hasn't been able to trust anyone. And so he has imprisoned himself in this sort of, you know, in this cell. But anyway, so we're getting to the closing of Lone Wolf's Extraction's director's commentary. We got about like 3 minutes left, but I know a lot of this is just me ranting. And I know some of you have missed out on having Cannonbolt and Aaron and Javelin in this with me. Scheduling has been really tough to get all of us together, but I decided to do this because it is the 13th anniversary of Lazy Bunch. So thank you all for watching Lone Wolf's Extraction. Your love and support. Subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your friends, or if you just like to listen to my voice for 42 and a half minutes. But most importantly, I want to thank the cast and crew for this, because Chronicler, your wife, Lost Hobo Films, Megalodon, Rachel Reagan, I know I'm missing a lot of people. Andrew Bauer, Andrew Hindle, Aiden. Who else? Who's next? Aiden, yep. And of course, the people from Reclaimer. You got, an Assassin Glasgow. Cannot forget Assassin. I'm so sorry. You are perfect as Lisa Fields, by the way. We can't have anyone else. Fallen Echo, Nina Nikolic, all of these great cast members for Lone Wolf's Extraction to help put it all together. So I want to thank the cast especially for this. But the crew, especially, body actors have been amazing. Aaron Weatherford's soundtrack, you hear it here. It's amazing. Like, when Aaron put this soundtrack together for me, I was thinking, wow, this is, wow. Like, I mean, we used a lot of different soundtracks as inspiration, and I think Mission Impossible was a huge inspiration of ours for this soundtrack. But when he composed it, I mean, we used that as a part of it, Marvel movies and everything, but like, man, Aaron just knocked it out of the park with this soundtrack here. And again, I want to thank all these people. You know, there's a lot of my names here, but like Ecstasy Studios or Fragile Void Entertainment now. He's the one who made that intro for us. Buck is the one who did the animation for us. All these body actors here, machinimators, all these body actors, thank you so much for helping. Production assistants, you know, Scott, he helped out. Kalia Parker, she was the original voice of Twilight, and so she kind of helped us with figuring out Twilight's character a little bit more for Reclaimer and all this. But, you know, every single name on this, they weren't just thrown on here just because. You know, every name in this production, someone has helped out in some capacity and has played a pivotal part in making Lone Wolf's Extraction what it is. So, but again, I just really want to thank all of you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, and like I said, Lone Wolf's Extraction is dedicated to the fans who helped us establish ourselves in this Machinima community. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the subs. Thank you for the views, and I'll see you all next time.